Then in the step 3, calculate sum equals to a plus b. Here processes. So what is pseudocode? It is an informal language independent way. So what do you mean by performance analysis? It is a process of evaluating the efficiency of an Hello everyone, welcome to the session 1 of the unit 1 of the subject Design and Analysis of Algorithm. Myself, Chandana C, Faculty of Computer Science Department, Vidyashram First Grade College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. So in this session, we are going to study about the subject Design and Analysis of Algorithm. So as this is a first session of first unit, okay, let us look into what are the topics we are going to know in this session. So first thing, we have the introduction, okay. So under the introduction, we are going to know about what is algorithm, then pseudocode for expressing the algorithms. Then we are going to study about the performance analysis. So the performance analysis of the algorithm, which depends on the space and time complexity of the algorithm. The last we have worst case, best case and average case efficiencies. So these are the topics today we are going to know in this session. So let us move into what is algorithm, okay, to know about what is algorithm. So algorithm is nothing but it is a set of rules or a step-by-step procedure, or we can say it is a set of definite rules, okay, for carrying out some calculations, okay, to carry out some calculation either through hands or by machine. So we are going to write some specific instructions, okay, to a computer or through a hand. We are going to write. For what purpose we are going to write? To carry out some calculations, okay. So that is what we can say it's an algorithm. So algorithm is nothing but it is a step-by-step procedure or some set of definite rules for carrying out some calculations either by hand or through machine. Or we can define the algorithm as a finite set of instruction that a specified sequence of operations to be carried out in order. Okay, in order we are going to write. So what comes next? Like that. Okay, step 1, after step 1, step 2, like that. Okay, in order to solve a specific problem or class of problems. So that is called algorithm. See how it works? If we give an input, okay, then here some set of rules will be there. So what purpose we are writing a set of rules? To obtain the output for a particular input. So whatever the input we are giving, so to get that output, so here we are setting some rules to get the expected output from the given input. So whatever the input we are providing here to get that expected output, so we have some set of rules, okay. So that we say algorithm. So get a output, okay, this is how. So whatever the input you are giving, so for that purpose we are setting some rules for that input to get a output for that given input, okay. So this is what the definition of algorithm. So next we will move on to the steps for writing algorithm. So how the standard steps follows to write an algorithm. First thing, start, okay. The first step is start. What it is going to indicate? It indicates the beginning of the algorithm. So start indicates the beginning of the algorithm. Next, input. Here it is going to read or accept the required input values for that program. Next, process. It performs the necessary calculations or operations, okay. So next thing is process. It is going to perform some calculations, necessary calculations. If I am going to add 2 numbers, it should perform an add, okay, addition operation. Next, decision. If required, you can add the decision also. Okay, check the conditions and choose the appropriate action. Next, output. It is going to display or return whatever we have done here, calculations. It is going to display or return that results. Next, stop. It is going to indicate the end of the algorithm. So this is how the writing of an algorithm follows. So next we have steps for writing algorithm. So under that we have a general format. How it is going to follow? Start, then read, input required data, then perform the required processing. If necessary, you can add the conditions also, okay, and repeat the steps using loops and display the output, then at last stop. Here we have a simple example. We have written an algorithm to add two numbers, okay. So sum of two numbers. So first thing, step 1, start. In the step 2, read two numbers. Two numbers means I need to take two variables, right? Here I have taken A and B, okay. So A and B holds the values, whichever we have inserting there. Then in the step 3, calculate sum equals to A plus B. Here processes is performing here. It is doing. So it is adding A and B using the plus operator. Next, after performing the operation, that is addition operation, then in the step 4, we are going to display. Okay, so after performing the plus operation, so this value is stored in the variable sum. Then in the step 4, it is going to display that the value which is stored in the sum variable. Okay, next in the step 5, it is going to stop the algorithm because our action is completed. So what we want to do, so that work is done. So we added two numbers and we displayed also. Then we are going to stop the algorithm. Okay, so this is how the algorithm follows. This is how we need to write the algorithm. Okay, next. So next we have the advantages and disadvantages of algorithm. So what are the advantages? It is easy to understand. Disadvantages, writing an algorithm takes a long time, so it is time consuming. Okay, it is easy to understand, but writing algorithm, it is too much of time consuming. Okay, next, algorithm is a stepwise representation of a solution to a given problem. Yes, by seeing one after the other steps, we can easily understand. So it is a stepwise representation of a solution of a given problem. So what is the disadvantages? Understanding the complex logic through algorithms can be very difficult for bigger programs or a large programs, complex programs. So it is very difficult. Okay, through the algorithms, it's difficult to understand. Okay, so next advantage we have here, in an algorithm, the problem is broken down into smaller pieces or the steps. Hence, it is easier for the programmer to convert it into an actual program. So as we said, it's a step-by-step procedure. Yes. So the bigger one, the problem, it is break down into a steps, right? So hence it is easy for the programmer to convert it into an actual program. Then what about the disadvantage? So branching and looping statements. So these are very difficult to show in the algorithm. So this makes very little difficult for the programmer if it contains branching or loopings. Okay, so these are the advantages and disadvantages of algorithm. Next we will know about the pseudocode. So how we are going to express in the algorithms pseudocode. So pseudocode is nothing but it is an informal language independent way of describing the algorithm. So using a simple English statements, here we are using simple English statements and programming like structures. Okay, it helps us to understanding the logic of an algorithm. So without following the syntax of any specific programming languages. Okay, so what is pseudocode? It is an informal language independent way describing the algorithm. We are going to describe the algorithm in an independent and an informal way. So it contains just simple English statements, okay, and programming like structures. So it helps us to understand the logic of a algorithm and it follows the syntax of a specific programming language. So what are the features of pseudocode then? It is easy to read and understand. Hence it contains a English like language. So hence the pseudocode has written in an English language is obviously easy to understand and read. Okay, next, independent of any programming language. So using this pseudocode, we can implement the pseudocode into any other programming language. Hence we can say independent of any programming language. Then it is used as a simple English with programming constructs. Next, focuses on the logic of the algorithm. So it mainly, this pseudocode focuses mainly on the logic of this algorithm, and it is very easy to convert into an actual program. So using the pseudocode, we can easily convert into any programming language. Okay, so this is about the pseudocode. So here we have a simple example. So what we have written in our algorithm, step-by-step procedure to add two numbers, right? So the same thing we have written in the pseudocode. So example, to find the sum of two numbers which we have written in a pseudocode. So in the algorithm, the step 1, we started with the statement start, right, in the step 1. Here we are using begin. So in the pseudocode, here we are using the begin word. Next, input a comma b. So after giving an input to variables, what we should do? We are adding sum a plus b. So this indicates the assigning operator. Okay, like this, sum equals a plus b. So this tells that it is a assigning operator. So whatever the value after adding a and b, whatever the value is present, it is assigning that value to the sum. Okay, next, output that sum. So whichever the value is present in the sum, it is going to output that value. Then end. Okay, so this is how we can write a pseudocode. So it can be easily understood by any programmer. Next, example, to find the largest of two numbers. So how we can write? So this is a algorithm of largest. We are starting with the beginning. So what we are finding a largest among two numbers, right? Hence input a comma b. Here we are using if statement. Okay, so conditional. If a is greater than b, then what we need to output? So output a, because a is greater than b, right? If a is greater than b, then print that a. That is output a. Else, if not, if it is b greater than a, then else output b. Okay, so then end this conditional statement if. Okay, then after that, at last you end it. Okay, this is how we can write a pseudocode for the algorithms. So here we have another example to find the GCD of two numbers. So using the Euclid's algorithm expressed in pseudocode. So this was asked in your examination for 5 marks or 6 marks. Okay, this is very, very important. So they may ask you in your examination to write a pseudocode for Euclid's algorithm. Okay, here the algorithm called Euclid algorithm. So here I am passing two parameters, m and n. Two values I am using here. Okay, so what does it contain? It contains head part. In the head part, it's telling the what you are going to perform. Okay, it is going to describe what is this algorithm, what it is going to do. It's going to compute the GCD of m comma n using the Euclid's algorithm. Then what are the inputs you are giving? We are giving two non-negative integers or numbers. Okay, next, output what we should get? GCD of this m and n. Okay, this we call it as head part. Next, in the body part, we are writing the pseudocode. If m is not equal to n, if I take an example, if I take two values, example 36 comma 12. So here m is 36 and n is 12. So n is not equal to 0. See, n is not equal to 0. What I should do? So m mod n, that is 36 divided by 12. So what is the answer? 12 3s are 36, right? So what is the remainder? 0 is the remainder. So now in the body part, we are calculating. While n not equal to 0, do. So n is not equal to 0, right? So n is holding the value 12. So perform 36 divided by 12. So what is the r value? R equals to 0. Because that is the remainder we got. So r equals to n. So equal this 0 value to n. Equate that. So hence, again you perform GCD of n comma mod m comma n. So what is the n value now? N value is 12. 12 comma 0. Okay, otherwise return m. So if n value is equal to 0, that means here this condition fails. N greater than m. So here now this is m value and this is n value. So 0 is not greater than m, right? N greater than m. Check this. So n is lesser than m now. So you need to return this value. So what is the GCD of 36 comma 12, that is 12. Okay, so the GCD of 36 comma 12 is, answer is 12 is the GCD of m comma n, that is 36 comma 12. So this is how we are going to calculate the GCD. So written m means it is going to return the value which is present in the m, that is 12. Okay, understood? So this is how Euclid's algorithm follows. We are going to calculate among two numbers. Next, advantages of pseudocode. So what are the advantages? So it is easy to write and understand. Yes, we can easily understand that. Then simplifies the algorithm design. So whatever the algorithm we have written, it simplifies it. Helps to detect logical errors before coding. So by looking at the pseudocode only, we can detect the logical errors before coding. Then it is easy to convert into any programming languages. So using the pseudocode, as I said earlier, we can convert the pseudocode into any other programming languages like C, C++, Java or Python, like that. Okay. So it improves the communication among the programmers. So these are some of the advantages of pseudocode. Next, we will look into what are the limitations of pseudocode. Okay, so it does not contain a standard syntax. So it does not contain standard syntax. So this is one of the limitations of the pseudocode. Okay, then it cannot be compiled or executed directly. So this is one disadvantage of a pseudocode. Different programmers may write it in different styles. So hence we get more confused. Okay, so different programmers can take the pseudocode and they can design their own programming languages. So hence makes us little difficult to understand. Okay, so these are some of the limitations of pseudocode. So next we have performance analysis. So what do you mean by performance analysis? It is a process of evaluating the efficiency of an algorithm. Okay, in terms of, we are going to calculate the efficiency in terms of execution time as well as the memory usage before the implementation of an algorithm. So it mainly consists of two types, that is time and space complexity. Okay, so the performance analysis of a algorithm is calculated or evaluated by the efficiency of algorithm. So in terms of the time and space complexity. Okay, so let us discuss one by one now. So first thing, we have time complexity. So it is the amount of time an algorithm takes to execute of a function of the input size n. So the time complexity, how we are going to measure? So it depends on the amount of the time taken to execution of the number of inputs n. So how much inputs you have given, how many number of inputs you have given, it depends on that input. It is going to take a time to execute. Okay, so it is the amount of time an algorithm take to execute of a function of the input size n. As the number of size, that is n value, increases, so as you increase the input value, so the time taken to execute the program also increases. Okay, it measures how the running time increases when the input size increases. As your input size increases, the running of a program time also increases. Okay, so what is the formula to calculate the time complexity? We measure it T of n. Okay, so T of n is equal to number of basic operations performed. Okay, so basic operations, if you are using one number n, okay, so n equals to 1, then the time complexity will be big O of n. Okay, like this. See, for int I equals to 0, I less than n, I plus plus. Here you are using only 1. That is, number of iterations is equal to n. So how many times you are performing? So that is n times, hence the time complexity will be big O of n, because you are checking till n values, right? So hence the time complexity will be big O of n. So if your value is 5, n value is 5, so it checks till the 5th position. Okay, so hence the time complexity will be big O of n. So your time complexity depends on the n. Understood? If it is a single iteration, okay, like I equals to 0, I less than n. Okay, the number of iteration is n, hence the time complexity is big O of n. So next we have the common time complexities. So how we can calculate the common time complexity for different algorithms? See here, big O of 1. So for the constant, Okay, if the input value is 1 for the constant, the time complexity will be big of 1. So that is accessing an array elements, depends on the array elements, that is we can say constant. Okay, if it is constant, so the time complexity will be big of 1. So if that is a logarithmic, okay, algorithm, then the time complexity will be big of log n. For example, binary search. So logarithmic means binary search, okay. Next, if it is a linear algorithm, its time complexity is big of n, because linear search, one after the other, we are going to search throughout n elements. Hence, the linear search time complexity will be big of n. Next is linear demic, okay. Example, merge sort. So what's its time complexity? N log n. So big of n log n. Next is quadratic. Quadratic means in the bubble sort. Okay, so it's going to check bubble sorting. So one after the other. So hence big of n square. Next, exponential. Recursive Fibonacci. Okay, in the exponential, the big of 2 power n. Its time complexity will be big of 2 power n. So if it is factorial traveling, that is salesman problem path. Okay, finding the minimum path using the brute force method. So in the traveling salesman problem, its time complexity will be big of n factorial, as this is a factorial traveling problem. Okay, so these are some of the common time complexity for the different examples. Okay, so this thing we will deeply discuss, or briefly we are going to discuss in the upcoming units. So till now we discussed regarding the time complexity. Next we are going to know about what is this space complexity. So it is a total amount of memory required by an algorithm, so during its execution, as a function of this input sizes n. Okay, so it includes input space and auxiliary or temporary space. So space complexity, how we can calculate, it depends on the how much space, okay, it is occupied by the algorithm. That is input value. It depends on the input value, that is n, the size n, okay, during the execution of a function. What is the formula we can use for space complexity? S of n equals to fixed space plus variable space. So what is this fixed space means? Memory for program instructions or a constants and fixed variables. Okay, the fixed space, that is memory which is used for the program instructions or for a constants or fixed variables. Okay, next, plus variable space. What is this variable space? This is a memory required for the input data and also for the temporary variables. Okay, so how we can calculate the space complexity? Formula, that is S of n equals to fixed space plus temporary space. So fixed space means that is memory, it is allocated in a program for the fixed constants or variables and also for the instructions. Okay, whereas a variable space, it is a memory required for the input. Okay, how much input you are going to give, that depends on the temporary space, input data and also for the temporary variables. So for example, int sum equals to 0, for int I equals to 0 to I less than and I plus plus. So here we are using extra memory. See, one variable, that is sum, is used. This is an extra variable, I have not declared here. So int sum equals to, initially it is 0. Right, so it is one variable, that is sum, and the loop variable I is used here. So hence the space complexity will be bigger of 1 for the constant space. Okay, so understood. So this is how we can calculate the space complexity. It depends on the memory, how much memory it is going to occupy during the execution of a program or a function. So till now we discussed regarding the time complexity and space complexity, right? So next we will discuss regarding the types of performance analysis. So how many different types of performance analysis are there? Here we have two. Okay, that is, one is a priori analysis and the second one is a posteriori analysis. So what is this a priori and a posteriori? So a priori analysis, it is done before the implementation. So before implementing the algorithm, we are going to calculate. Okay, so this is done before implementing the algorithm as a program. Okay, before implementing it to a program, we are going to calculate manually. That we call a priori analysis. So this is based on some mathematical analysis. So if I give 50 inputs, so what will be the output? That means, so how much time it is going to take, how much space it is going to occupy. So these things are done before implementing the algorithm. Then it is independent of hardware because manually we are performing, right? So we are calculating this. Hence, it is independent of hardware. So what is this a posteriori analysis? Which means it is done after implementation, after execution of a program. So what we have got, the output, so the time taken to execute that program and the space occupied by that program. Okay, so this is done after the implementation. Which one? A posteriori analysis. Then it depends on the actual execution of a program. Next, it depends on hardware and also the compiler. Okay, this is not done by manually, this is done by the system. Hence, it depends on the hardware as well as compiler. Which one? A posteriori analysis. Understood? So, depend on these two, okay, analysis, we are going to calculate the performance of a program or a algorithm. Next, we have the importance of performance analysis. So, what are the importance? It helps to choose the best algorithm. So, which algorithm is going to execute fast? That is, time taking is less and space is less. Okay, it helps to choose the best algorithm and it reduces the execution time. So, obviously, as we choose a best algorithm, obviously it is going to reduce the execution time, right? Then minimizes the memory usage. So based on this only, we are going to take a best algorithm. We are going to choose a best algorithm. Then it improves overall efficiency and also it is useful for handling large data sets. So these are the some important, we need to keep it in your mind for the performance analysis. Okay. Next, we have the differences between time complexity and space complexity. So till now we discussed regarding the time and space complexity, right? So let us look into what are the difference between these two. So time complexity and space complexity. Time, it measures the execution time, whereas space, it is going to measure the memory usage. It depends on number of operations. Which one? Time complexity. How we are going to measure? Depends on the number of operations, how much we are using. So depending on that number of operations, the time complexity is measured. Whereas the space complexity, it depends on the memory required for that program or a algorithm. Next, represented as big O of n in the time complexity, whereas in the space complexity, this also represented as big O of n. Okay. Next, it focuses on speed. Which one? Time complexity. How much time it take, okay, within 1 second. So this algorithm is executed like that. So it depends on the speed. Which one? Time complexity. Whereas a space complexity, it focuses on the storage. How much memory it occupied. So which algorithm occupied how much memory. So that's why it is focusing on the storage of the algorithm. Which one? Space complexity. So understood? So what are the difference between time and space complexities? So next we will move on to the worst case, best case and average case efficiency. So till now we discussed time and space complexity. Next we are moving towards what are these worst case, best case and average case efficiency. So when we can say the algorithm has a best case efficiency, what does it mean, the best case efficiency? That means a minimum time taken by algorithm for the most favorable input. Okay, so the time taken to execute that program, that is a minimum time. Okay, so that algorithm we can say it's a best case efficiency. So when it is going to occur, the desired result is found immediately or input is already in the best possible condition. Okay, so the notation used for best case is big omega. Okay, example, in the linear search, if the element is found at the first position, okay, so while searching a key using a linear search algorithm, if the key value present in the first position of an array, then we can say it's a best case. Okay, so the time complexity will be obviously big O of 1. because the element was present in the first index only, no, 0th index, first element of an array, then the time to search that element, the time will be obviously less compared to other. So hence the time complexity will be big O of 1. So next we have the worst case efficiency. So when we can say the algorithm has a worst case efficiency, so that means the maximum time taken by the algorithm for the most unfavorable input. Okay, so then we can say it's a worst case efficiency. So when it is going to occur, it occurs when the algorithm has to perform the maximum number of operations. Okay, so the notation used for this is big O, worst case. Okay, big O is used for the worst case. So example, in linear search, the element is at the last position or the element is not at all present in a given array. Okay, what we have entered as an input, what key we are searching, if that key is not present at all in that entered array or it is present in the last element of an array, then it's going to execute with the worst case. Understood? So obviously the time complexity is just taken big O of n because it needs to search all the array elements, right? So that's why the time complexity is big O of n. So this we can say worst case efficiency. So next we have the average case efficiency. So when we can say the algorithm has in the average case efficiency, so the expected time taken by the algorithm over all possible inputs. Okay, so when it is going to occur, this best case, the input is assumed to be a random. So what is the notation we are using here? Big theta. So it is commonly used for the average or a typical performance. Understood? So what is the example we can take in a linear search? If the element present in the middle of an entered array, okay, if the element is found somewhere in the middle of the array, so then we can say it's a average case efficiency. What is the time complexity? Obviously it will be big O of n because approximately n by 2 comparisons, but constants are ignored in big O notations. Which is a constant here? 2 is a constant. It is ignored. Hence they are taking only the higher priority, that is n. Okay. So this is how we are going to calculate the efficiency using the worst case, best case or average case. So I think you have understood, okay, what is worst case, what is best case and what is average case. So next we will average case. Okay. So by this I am ending this session. So in the next session I am going to discuss regarding the asymptotic notation, big O notation and omega notation and theta notations. So these three notations comes under the asymptotic notations. What are these? Okay, in briefly we are going to study. Then we have the mathematical analysis of non-recursive algorithm as well as recursive algorithms. Okay, these are the very important topics I am going to discuss in the next session. So till then, keep studying. Thank you.